Hello and welcome. You're watching WION World is One. My name is Heem Korsura and this is World DNA. Let's get started with all the stories that we've lined up for you at this hour.
I think in 2 weeks we'll know which way I'm going. Then I'm going to make a decision as to what we do. And it's going to be a very important decision.
Donald Trump has said that he would make an important decision in 2 weeks on Ukraine peace efforts, specifying that Moscow could face massive sanctions or he might not do anything. Russian President Vladimir Putin expresses optimism about Russia-US relations. Putin says he sees a light at the end of the tunnel and that the two countries are exploring joint projects in Arctic and Alaska.
I have to say, I got the hostages out. You have hundreds of people that are living now because of me. And now we have that final little group of people. And Hamas knows that if they give them, that's probably the end of their lives.
Donald Trump calls for immediate end of war in Gaza, suggests that fewer than 20 hostages who are in Gaza are still alive. Dutch Foreign Minister Casper Welkamp resigns after cabinet meeting failed to agree to sanctions against Israel. His new social contract party withdraws from the governing coalition, adding to growing political chaos in the country. Ghislaine Maxwell, the associate of Jeffrey Epstein, told a Justice Department official that she was not aware of any client list and never saw President Donald Trump behave inappropriately, according to the transcript of an interview released by the department. At least 5 people have died after a tour bus carrying more than 50 people veered out of control and rolled over on a New York highway. Bus was en route from Niagara Falls to New York City. President Trump has named Sergio Gore as the next U.S. ambassador to India. Gore, who is currently the director of the White House Presidential Personnel Office, will also take charge as Special Envoy for South and Central Asian Affairs. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney announced that in line with the USMCA deal, Canada will remove many of its retaliatory tariffs on US goods starting the 1st of September, though tariffs on steel, aluminum and autos will remain. US President Donald Trump has said that he would make an important decision in 2 weeks on Ukraine peace efforts, specifying that Moscow could face massive sanctions and tariffs or he might do nothing.
In 2 weeks we'll know which way I'm going. Then I'm going to make a decision as to what we do. And it's going to be a very important decision. And that's whether or not it's massive sanctions or massive tariffs or both. Or do we do nothing and say it's your fight?
Trump told reporters in the Oval Office that he is not happy about a Russian strike that hit an American-owned factory in Ukraine. The U.S. president appeared tired of peace efforts and compared Russian President Putin and Ukraine's Vladimir Zelensky to oil and vinegar.
We're going to see if Putin and Zelensky will be working together. You know, that's like oil and vinegar a little bit. They don't get along too well for obvious reasons, but we'll see. And then we'll see whether or not.
Trump expressed frustration over the lack of progress in scheduling peace talks between Putin and Zelensky after Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said no meeting is planned, while Zelensky accused Russia of trying to prolong the war further. However, Trump held up a photo that he said Putin had sent him after their landmark summit in Alaska a week ago. He also said that he may invite the Russian leader to the 2026 FIFA World Cup finals being held in the United States if there is progress on Ukraine. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin visited the town of Sarov, which is home to major Russian nuclear weapons facility, and expressed optimism about Russia-US relations, saying he sees a light at the end of the tunnel and that the two countries are exploring joint projects in the Arctic and Alaska.
As for our relations with the United States, they are in the lowest level since World War II. I've said this many times, but with the arrival of President Trump, we are starting to see light in the end of the tunnel. And recently, we've had a very good and frank meeting in Alaska. The contacts continue on the ministerial and officials and business level.
Putin expressed hope that the momentum of joint work with the United States will be sustained. In light of ongoing tensions, Belarus President Alexander Lukashenko has emphasized that both Russia and Belarus will require guarantees from Ukraine, ensuring that its territory won't be utilized for future military actions targeting them.
We must be realistic, so by hook or by crook, everything will take shape not the way we might want. Therefore, yes, we will insist alongside the Russians that this would not happen, that they should not be an aggressive country, that this should not be a springboard for attacking us in the future, but the situation may be such that...
Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Zelensky welcomed NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte in Kyiv for talks focused on security guarantees, weapons supplies and diplomatic efforts to end the war. Both leaders ramped up calls for allies to offer Ukraine robust security guarantees in the event of a peace deal with Russia. In other developments, Estonian Prime Minister Kristen Michael has said that his country is ready to participate in a peacekeeping operation in Ukraine with a force of around 150 troops. And as Israel has begun the first phase of the Gaza takeover plan, Trump calls for an end to the war in Gaza immediately. Trump's statement has come at a time when a 60-day ceasefire proposal agreed by Hamas is on the table. Trump has said that the situation in Gaza must end. While emphasizing his role in previous hostage releases, he also added that fewer than 20 hostages held by Hamas in Gaza are still alive.
The situation has to end. It's extortion and it has to end. And we'll see what happens. I actually think they're safer in many ways if you went in and you really went in fast and you did it. And people can't forget October 7th, remember that. I'm friendly with all groups.
In addition to that, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has announced that they are on the verge of completing the war in Gaza. He also went on to say that Hamas can end this war even today if they lay down their arms and release all the remaining hostages.
And I think we're on the verge of completing this war, a seven-front war that includes Iran and its proxies. And when that happens, I think we'll have tremendous opportunities to expand the peace.
Now, Israeli forces are continuing their major military incursion into the village of Al-Mughair, northeast of Ramallah. In a statement, Israeli army admitted that they have cut down a total of 3,100 trees and have also claimed that they are set to improve the defenses. Meanwhile, UN agencies called for urgency in response to the humanitarian situation in Gaza after the world's leading authority on food crises said that Gaza Strip's largest city is gripped by famine and that it's likely to spread across the territory without a ceasefire and an end to restrictions on humanitarian aid.
And it's important to emphasize that children are starving not because food doesn't exist, but because aid cannot reach them in time. They are additionally vulnerable as the health system is collapsing, safe water is scarce, and diseases like diarrhea and respiratory infections, which are normally mild for most children, are now life-threatening due to malnutrition.
In another development, Israelis held a protest by blocking a highway in central Tel Aviv. They demanded the immediate release of hostages held in Gaza and demanded that government must halt plans to take control of Gaza city. According to Gaza Health Ministry, more than 60,000 Palestinians have been killed in Israel-Hamas war and have displaced around 90% of the population in the area. Now, the U.S. Justice Department has released a transcript of an interview with Ghislaine Maxwell, the confidant and accomplice of Jeffrey Epstein. The new documents show that during her interview, Maxwell accepted that President Donald Trump was friendly with the convicted sex offender, but rejected the notion that Trump was seen in any inappropriate setting. Maxwell, who is serving a 20-year prison sentence for sex trafficking, was interviewed last month by Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. Trump's former personal lawyer, the DOJ, on Friday released hundreds of pages of transcripts and audio recordings of the interview in what Blanche called the interest of transparency. The 63-year-old Maxwell was moved from a prison in Florida to a minimum security facility in Texas following the interview with Blanche. Maxwell has emerged as the central figure of the Epstein case, especially after Trump administration's handling of the scandal drew intense scrutiny from Democrats and members of the president's own base. These supporters have been up in arms since the FBI and Justice Department said in July that Epstein had committed suicide, did not blackmail any prominent figures, and did not keep a client list. According to Wall Street Journal, Trump's name was among hundreds found during a Justice Department review of the so-called Epstein files, though there has not been evidence of wrongdoing. Maxwell, in the interview with Blanche, said Trump and Epstein were friendly, like people are in social settings. She said that Trump was always very cordial and kind to her and behaved like a gentleman in all respects. Maxwell claimed that she actually never saw Trump in any inappropriate setting in any way, adding that the president was never inappropriate with anybody.
Yes, that's my memory. There were social settings. I don't know Epstein's, if he had, whatever the nature of the president's friendship, if you will, or however you want to define that with Epstein, I was never witness. I think they were friendly, like people are in social settings. I don't think they were close friends, or I certainly never witnessed the president in any of, I don't recall ever seeing him in his house, for instance. I actually never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
Maxwell also said she did not believe Epstein committed suicide in prison. She also said that Epstein did not keep any sort of a client list and that she was not aware of any blackmail of prominent persons. Epstein, a wealthy financier with high-level connections, died in a New York jail cell in 2019 while awaiting trial for alleged sex trafficking of underage girls. Maxwell has asked the Supreme Court to overturn her conviction on the grounds that she was unlawfully prosecuted due to Epstein's controversial non-prosecution agreement. Trump has not ruled out a pardon for Maxwell. Now, days after U.S. President Donald Trump sparred with his former national security advisor and ridiculed him, the FBI has raided the former NSA's home in Washington, D.C. Now, according to reports, Bolton has been raided as part of national security investigation over classified documents. FBI Director Kash Patel posted a stern message on X and said, I'm quoting here, "No one is above the law, FBI agents on mission." U.S. President Donald Trump has also reacted to the raid. Speaking to reporters, Trump said that he knows nothing about it and is not a fan of John Bolton.
No, I don't know about it. I saw it on television this morning. I'm not a fan of John Bolton. He's a real sort of a lowlife. When I hired him, he served a good purpose because, as you know, he was one of the people that forced Bush to do the ridiculous bombings in the Middle East. Bolton. He wants to always kill people, and he's very bad at what he does. But he worked out great for me because every time he doesn't talk, he's like a very quiet person, except on television. If he could say something bad about Trump, he'll always do that. But
Bolton served as U.S. National Security Advisor in Donald Trump's first term. He has been an arch critic of Trump since he left the White House. The FBI raids come days after Bolton criticized Trump's decision to hold a summit meeting with Russian President Putin in Alaska. Ahead of the summit, Bolton had expressed strong criticism of Trump on global TV networks. Let's just listen into what Bolton had told WION exclusively a couple of days ago.
Right. I think the meeting in Alaska is a win for Putin. I mean, he goes from being an international pariah, leading a rogue state that committed unprovoked aggression against Ukraine, to standing in the world spotlight, having his picture taken with the President of the United States. That's a big win for him right there. And I think he will use the opportunity to meet with Trump to try and work his KGB training on him further and see if he can't make steps toward the relationship they used to have, which in Trump's mind was that they were good friends.
Bolton has repeatedly taken on Trump in the recent past. Bolton had likened the Alaska summit to the controversial visit by Taliban representatives to the U.S. Bolton had also criticized Trump's display of military readiness when he repositioned nuclear submarines near Russia. He warned that the move was reckless and could be misread by the Kremlin as a first strike warning. For more on this, a correspondent, Susan Tehrani, has sent us this report. Listen to this.
FBI agents executed court-authorized searches of John Bolton's residence in Maryland and his Washington, D.C. office. For hours, FBI agents were seen on camera carrying out boxes of documents while Bolton himself was at his office witnessing it all. The operation, ordered by newly FBI Director Kash Patel, is part of a broader national security investigation into John Bolton's alleged mishandling of classified documents, including claims that he transmitted highly sensitive material to his family members via a private email server during his time as National Security Advisor. Now, despite the operation, Bolton was neither arrested nor charged. Public sentiment from officials, including Vice President J.D. Vance, insists the investigation is ongoing, legally grounded, and not retaliation for John Bolton's outspoken criticism of President Donald Trump. Meanwhile, President Trump said that he was not informed in advance of the raid and reaffirmed the Justice Department's independence. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
And Canada is easing tensions with the United States by removing many retaliatory tariffs on American goods in a move aimed at restarting stalled trade talks. But some tariffs on key sectors like auto, steel and aluminum will still remain, at least for now. Prime Minister Mark Carney announced that Canada will remove tariffs on U.S. goods covered under the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, effectively re-establishing free trade for the vast majority of Canadian and American goods.
In this context, and consistent with Canada's commitment to CUSMA, I'm announcing today that the Canadian government will now match the United States by removing all of Canada's tariffs on U.S. goods specifically covered under CUSMA. So in short, the situation we're in now is that Canada and the United States have reestablished free trade for the vast majority of our goods.
The tariffs being lifted were part of Canada's retaliation to Donald Trump's earlier duties on Canadian imports. Trudeau's government initially imposed 25% tariffs on about 30 billion Canadian dollars, or roughly $21 billion worth of American goods, targeting a total of 155 billion Canadian dollars, or $112.11 billion in imports. However, tariffs on auto, steel and aluminum will stay for now, with Canadian steel and aluminum tariffs still at 25%. While the United States has increased theirs on Canadian steel and aluminum to 50%, Carney called the decision a more moderate approach after months of tense talks with Washington. He stressed Canada's commitment to the USMCA and said preparations for the agreement's mandatory review in 2026 are already underway. Donald Trump, who spoke to Carney recently, praised the decision, calling it a nice thing and expressing a desire for strong partnership with Canada.
Removing his tariffs, yeah. He's removing his retaliatory tariffs, which I thought was nice. And we're going to have another call soon. Okay. Yeah, we had a very good call.
You're getting closer towards an agreement on trade?
I like him. You know, look.
But experts warn that despite these steps, a comprehensive deal remains difficult. A former government official highlighted the list of U.S. demands as is long and negotiations will be challenging. Business leaders welcome the move but urge focus on a solid renewal of the USMCA, which has shielded Canadian companies from broader tariffs. So while Canada is backing down on many tariffs, key trade battles remain unresolved still. The focus now shifts to long-term negotiations and the 2026 USMCA review, which could reshape American trade for years to come. Now, the first ever Khelo India Water Sports Festival kicked off in Srinagar with a splash and a historic win for the host state. Local boy Mohsin Ali has become the first ever gold medalist from Jammu and Kashmir in the inaugural event. Here's a report.
17-year-old Mohsin, who rowed shikaras on Dal Lake to support his family, struck gold in the 1,000-meter men's kayaking event. He clocked 4 minutes, 12 seconds, outpacing athletes from several states, some with even international experience. A Class 12 student from Srinagar, Mohsin balances his studies with training and part-time work to afford his diet and equipment. His father, Fida Hussain Khan, a carpenter, has been his biggest supporter. This gold, he says, is for him.
I am very happy that I have won a gold medal in the 1000-meter kayak race at the Khelo India Water Sports Festival. 26 states were participating and there were players who even played internationally among my competitors. And I am extremely happy that I won. Now my dream is to represent India at the international event.
Mohsin has been trained by Bilkis Mir, a former international kayaker and Olympic jury member, fondly called the Aqua Woman of the Valley. She has been training youngsters in the valley for over a decade and believes this win marks a turning point for sports in the region.
This journey started in 2013. We have around 110 medals for water sports in Jammu and Kashmir. Mohsin has proved that Kashmiri boys can lead in water sports. Mohsin's gold medal proves that we have the talent. This will inspire all the athletes. Mohsin had come to me when he was 7 years old. I have groomed him since then, and today he has won the gold and proved to be among the best in the country. Other states have coaches from abroad. They have technical staff, but Mohsin has proved where there is a will, there is a way.
There is a will, there is a way.
The Khelo India Water Sports Festival, hosted at the iconic Dal Lake, features events like rowing, kayaking, canoeing, water skiing, shikara race and dragon boat race. Athletes from all over the country are participating. The 3-day festival is a new initiative under the Khelo India mission. It is aimed at promoting sports culture, talent discovery and infrastructure development at the grassroots level.
Khelo India Games have provided a platform to thousands of athletes from across India. Mohsin Ali, who became Kashmir's first gold medalist in the Water Sports Festival held in Srinagar's Dal Lake, now dreams of representing India in international events. With video journalist Feroz Idris Loan for WION World is One.
Now, 12th Night, featuring Sandra Oh, Peter Dinklage, Lupita Nyong'o and Jessie Taylor Ferguson, has reopened the revitalized Delco Theatre. Take a look at what happened at the event.
just don't put Shakespeare on a pedestal. He was a writer. He was also an actor, so he's sort of one of our tribe. And I think if he was alive today, he wouldn't be putting his writing on a pedestal either. He would be doing rewrites. If an actor was unhappy with the line, he'd cut it for you. I just have that feeling because the way he wrote, and that's the beauty of his work. And they're timeless because they still deal with issues that we all are still dealing with, and they'll never go away.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of World DNA. But don't go anywhere. Coming up next, US President Donald Trump has said that he will send the National Guard to Chicago and New York next as part of his federal crime crackdown. Stay tuned for that on the other side.
Adventures in sci-fi just got very real. The machines have risen. They can walk, they can fly, do manual labor and all kinds of tasks. But with AI, robots aren't just mechanical toys. The humanoids can think, speak, provide therapy and even bring us to life. But what should robots be deployed for? Humanity needs to think and make a choice. All you need to know about robots this week, only on WION World is One at these times.
WION Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at yowon.com.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
Cloudbursts, landslides and flash floods. From Pakistan to North India, nature's fury and havoc in the shadow of the Hindu Kush mountains.